50 Famous Fairy Tales. Tale 19. The Brave Little Tailor. One summer morning, a little tailor sat upon his work table sewing industriously. He became hungry, and going to the cupboard, got himself a piece of bread and jelly. Because he was so anxious to finish the waistcoat before the end of the day, he took a bite or two of the bread, then put it down and went on with his work. In the meantime, the smell of the sweet jelly filled the air, and flies descended in swarms. "Oh, who invited you?" asked the little tailor, and he seized a strip of cloth and struck out fiercely. Upon counting, he found before him no less than 7 dead flies. "What a brave fellow am I," he said, admiring himself. "The whole world must know this." Quickly cutting himself a belt, he stitched upon it large letters, 7 at one blow. The tailor fastened the belt around his waist and determined to show it to the world. Before he left, however, he looked around the house for something to take with him. He found nothing except a cheese and tame pigeon. He put these into his pockets and started out. The road led over a mountain, and when the tailor reached the top, he saw a powerful giant. The tailor approached him and spoke to him, saying, "Good day, comrade. I am on my way to my true fortune. Would you like to go with me?" The giant looked scornfully at the little tailor and replied, "You jack-in-the-box, you miserable do-nothing." "That is as it may prove," said the tailor, unbuttoning his coat and displaying the belt. "Come read here what sort of man I am." The giant read, 7 at one blow? He thought it meant 7 men whom the tailor had killed, and was greatly astonished. Wanting to test the tailor's power, the giant took a stone and squeezed it until a drop of water fell out. "Now do that," said the giant, "if you are so strong." "Only that?" said the little tailor. "That is child's play." He thrust his hands into his pocket, pulled out the cheese, and pressed it until the whey came out. The giant, who was quite nearsighted, thought the cheese was a stone, and he hardly believed the little fellow was so powerful. The giant picked up another stone and threw it into the air. It went so high that the tailor could scarcely follow it with his eye. "Now," said the giant, "do better." "That's quite a trick," said the tailor, "but your stone has returned to earth. Now I will throw one so high that it shall never come down again." Putting his hand into his pocket, he drew forth the bird and tossed it into the air. The bird flew up and, of course, did not reappear. "What do you think of that?" asked the tailor. "You certainly throw well," returned the nearsighted giant. "Now we will see how you are at carrying." He then led the tailor to an enormous fallen oak. "If you are strong enough," he said, "help me carry this tree out of the wood." "Gladly," answered the little man. "You take the trunk on your shoulder. I will carry all the branches and twigs." The giant took the trunk on his shoulder, but the tailor hopped up on a branch and rode along, whistling merrily. Not being able to see around the huge trunk, the giant unknowingly did all the work, even to carrying the little tailor. The giant, however, soon found the burden too heavy and cried out, "Stop! I must let the tree fall." The tailor sprang nimbly off, seized the tree with both arms as if he had been carrying it, and said to the giant, "What a great fellow like you, not able to carry a tree?" And they left the oak where it fell and continued on their way till they saw a cherry tree growing by the wayside. The giant seized the top of the tree where the ripest fruit hung, bent it down, handed the tailor, and bade him eat. Just as the tailor took hold, the giant let go. The bent tree sprang back into place, and the little tailor was tossed up and over and landed on the other side. "Ha!" roared the giant. "Don't you have the strength to hold down a mere bush?" "Oh, I have the strength," replied the tailor. "I jumped over the tree on purpose." "Jump over it yourself if you can." The giant gave a leap, but one foot caught in the branches. So again the little tailor had the better of him. Then the giant said, "As long as you are such a brave fellow, come into our cave and spend the night with me and my 6 brothers." The tailor was willing, and followed him to the cave. There he found 6 giants seated by the fire. After supper, the giant pointed to a huge bed and told the tailor that he might take it for the night. But it was much too big for him, so he curled up on a pillow in the corner. Just before daybreak, the giant supposed the tailor to be asleep in bed, took an iron bar, and beat the bed till the bedclothes were in ribbons. Then, sure he had killed this dangerous man, the giant and his brothers went to the wood. Before long, who should come along but the tailor, whistling merrily as if nothing had happened. Sure, now that he would kill them all at one blow, the giants took to their heels, and the tailor saw them no more. The little man went on, and after traveling a long time, came to a royal palace. Feeling extremely tired, he lay down on the grass in the courtyard and fell asleep. While he lay there, people came by and read his belt. 7 at one blow. "Ah," they said, "what a great soldier this is!" And they hurried to tell the king. The king thought such a powerful fighter would be useful in case war should break out, and he sent one of his couriers to ask the tailor to take command of the army. The courier stood patiently, waiting till the tailor awoke, and then he delivered his message. "That is why I am here," replied the little tailor, who by now was quite convinced of his own bravery, and had completely forgotten that the 7 he had killed had been only flies. "I am quite ready to take command." Now the king's generals were jealous of the little tailor, and wished him 1,000 miles away. "What can be done?" they said. "If we begin to quarrel with him, and go to fighting, he can slay all 7 of us at once. We cannot risk that." So they went in a body to the king, and asked to be discharged. "We are not able," they said, "to stay in the same army with a man who kills 7 at one blow." The king was sorry that all his old and faithful officers wanted to leave him. He wished that they had never beheld the stranger, but he did not dare to discharge him, for he feared that the tailor would kill him and all his people, and then take possession of his kingdom. At last the king thought of a plan whereby he might get rid of the fellow. So he sent for the tailor and told him that in a large wood nearby lived 2 giants who had committed many murders and robberies. No one dared go near them. If the tailor could conquer and kill these giants, the king would give him his only daughter in marriage, and half the kingdom as a wedding present. "Well," thought the tailor, "for such a one as I, a king's beautiful daughter and half a kingdom is not bad. I do not have such an offer every day." So he replied, "I will soon overcome the giants. Surely, if I can settle 7 at one blow, I need not fear 2. The little tailor set out, followed by 100 horsemen, but at the edge of the wood he said to them, "Wait here for me. I shall be better to encounter these giants alone." Then, walking quietly, he looked about, and after a while discovered the giants. They were lying asleep under a tree. The tailor filled both of his pockets with stones and climbed the tree. He placed himself on the branch directly over the sleepers, and let one stone after another fall upon the breast of the giants. The giants sputtered and grumbled for some time. At last he awoke, pushed his companion, and said to him, "Stop hitting me." "You're dreaming," said the other. "I haven't touched you." They lay down again, and this time the tailor dropped a stone on the second giant. "What is this?" he cried, waking with a start. "Keep your hands off me." "Haven't laid a finger on you," said the other. They grumbled and quarreled for some time, but they were both tired and soon went back to sleep. As soon as they began snoring again, the tailor took out a bigger stone and hit the first giant on the chest. "Ouch!" yelled the giant, springing up like a madman. He threw himself on his companion and tried to tear him to pieces. They rolled back and forth in their rage, uprooting trees and fighting until they both lay dead on the ground. The tailor now came down from his hiding place. "What luck," he said. They did not tear up the tree in which I was seated." Drawing his sword, he stabbed each of the giants, and then went to the horsemen, saying, "Well, that job is done, but what a time I had! The giants tore up the trees to defend themselves, but that does little good against a man like me, who kills 7 at one blow." The horsemen rode into the wood to see for themselves. There they found the giants, and all around lay the trees torn up by the roots, so they had to believe him. The little tailor now claimed the promised reward, but the king pretended there was still more to the bargain. "Before you marry my daughter and obtain half the kingdom," he said, "you must perform another task. You must capture a unicorn which runs wild in the wood." "I fear the unicorn less than I did the 2 giants," boasted the tailor. 7 at one blow is my motto." Taking a rope and an axe, he went in search of the unicorn. The creature soon appeared and charged upon the tailor. The little man sprang behind an oak, and the unicorn, who was going too fast to stop, lunged against the tree and buried his horn in the trunk, so deeply he could not free it. "Ah," said the tailor, "now I have you," and he tied the legs of the unicorn together so it could not run away. Then he split the trunk with his axe, released the horn, and led his captive to the king. The king, however, would not yet allow the tailor to marry the princess, but told him he must catch a wild boar, which had destroyed much property. "Well," said the tailor, "that is child's play. Let us go at once." He would not take the hunters with him, but went alone. When the wild boar saw the tailor, he rushed toward him with tusks gleaming, but the little tailor was too quick for him. He ran into a woodcutter's hut that was near, and leapt through a window at the other end. The boar was on his heels, and the tailor running around to the front door, closed it, and so the animal was caught. The hero went at once to the king, who was now compelled to keep his promise, and deliver both his daughter and half his kingdom to the tailor. The marriage was celebrated with magnificence, and the tailor became a king. One night the young queen heard her husband talking in his sleep, and caught the words, "Sew, waistcoat, finish those trousers, give me the yardstick." Then she knew that her husband had worked for a living, and was not suitable to be a king. She complained to her father the next day, begging his help in getting rid of her husband, who was nothing but a tailor. The king comforted her, and bade her leave her door open the next night. "My servants will wait outside," he said, "until he is asleep. Then they will tie him up in a sack and carry him off to a ship. You shall be troubled by him no more." The young queen was pleased to hear this, but the tailor's page boy overheard the plot, and told his master. "Never fear," the tailor said, "I will spoil their plan." And he went to bed as usual. When the king thought that he'd slept, she softly arose and opened the door. But the little tailor was only pretending to sleep, and he began to call out with a loud voice, "Here, boy, sew this jacket, mend these trousers, or I will beat you with the yardstick. I have slain 7 with one blow, killed 2 giants, captured a unicorn, and a wild boar. Why should I be afraid of those who are waiting outside my door?" When the servants heard these words, great fear seized them. They ran away as if wild beasts were after them, and no one else ever dared go against the tailor. So the tailor remained a king, and in time his wife grew fond of him, and they ruled happily for many years. The end.